Hello everyone, hope you're having a lovely day here. Day, morning, evening, wherever you may be. Trying to jump into the commentary here, so please bear with me, but very exciting match today. Have mghtymth versus Sagaz. Not sure if that's how his name is pronounced, but both very good runners here. Made a lot of progress into the game itself, especially at this tournament here. A lot of, new PBs and things. Very exciting to see. Again, it'll take me a moment to kind of get going here. Just woke up not too long ago, but it's always nice to have commentary for a game. And I hope you're all having a lovely time. Not too much to say at the beginning here, thankfully. Just kind of making your way, get your sword. Sword, very important item, but in terms of the game, it will make 3 different distinct sounds, and it actually rolls the RNG when you use the sword. So sometimes you might see the runners kind of slash your sword. That's to advance the RNG in the game. Different actors and things will advance RNG, so enemy movement. But other things actually won't advance the RNG, such as swinging the Rod of Seasons, which we will get later. But yeah, RNG manipulation is a very important part of the run. Yeah, just getting going in the first dungeon here. Menuing also pretty important. So far we don't have too many items, but we will be getting our bombs and our seed satchel here, which will open up the world quite a bit. Some very important tools. You also see that the runners are taking the time to attack these enemies. I don't know the exact route they're doing, but to my understanding they're doing a power ring route. So they're going to take out these extra enemies to force a maypole encounter. That you need 20 kills in order to get a maypole encounter on the overrod. So they're taking great care to try and get that count before they leave the dungeon in order to set up the manipulation. Yeah, going into this room here, the commentary might be a little bit delayed for what's being seen on the screen. I'm currently trying to work on that, but this room you want to have at least 2 hearts going in so you can take the damage, and it's a very convenient fairy to get. Sagaz already did a fight with, I believe, the Guria brothers. Get the bombs, so we'll take the bombs into the room to try and get a bit of an extra hit onto the boss there. You have seen both runners open their menu as they're entering the transition. If you do that, you can save a few frames. So typically when players will do menus, they'll try and do it on a transition like that in order to save just a tiny bit of time. Yeah, no problem. And still just trying to get a few things set up here, but first boss, mghtymth, takes 10 hits of the sword. And also we have the floor masters here. Their spawn location is based on the input that you are inputting into the game. So there's a very small manipulation that just took place right there, but in the next dungeon, we'll see a much stronger manipulation. Or rather, at Dungeon 3, we'll end up seeing much stronger manipulation. Yeah, Maple. Yeah, Maple is cute, and she gives us stirring, which is very important. Now in the Rosa scene, RNG manipulation continues over into this part. So she has a few different patterns she can do. And of course, in manipulating the RNG, you try to get a shorter pattern. Again, I have to apologize. I haven't been able to see how the runners are doing too closely at the moment. Just trying to get set up, but hopefully you guys know for the most part what you're racing. And if you have any questions, by all means ask. I would be more than happy to explain anything. Okay. I think things should be good for the most part now. So Sagaz got his raw seasons, a very important item. Again, as I mentioned before, a very good benefit of it is that it actually does not scroll RNG when you use it. So there are times where, you want to get rid of enemies the other way, and you can use it to knock them out. And of course, the main attribute is, in fact, that it changes the season. Oracle seasons, didn't captured, all that fun stuff. Everything's out of whack. And trying to fix that. And this is really cool that the seasons change the overworld. And of course, you'll kind of see a bit of a formula. We'll go enter a dungeon, we'll get season, finish next dungeon, get a season, rinse, repeat, until we have all 4 seasons. Some might argue that construction is a season, but there are only 4 currently in this game. Yeah, so Subrosia, kind of an underworld area, lots of lava, different currency system. Be making several trips back here, of course, back in order to get our season. Then once we got those, there will, just be the little side quest here and there that we'll do. So yeah, right here, you saw Sagaz slashing his sword. Enter this next area, which is transition to the menu. Again, mostly just a frame saver. Kind of funny, which button you have the rod on should change the enemy patterns as well. But yeah, even these enemy patterns right here are manipulated. Movement, very important. Just because it does scroll the RNG. And yeah, again, just into this screen. Those moblins could be up the stairs, it could be in your way. It's pretty fun. There's a lot of different routes that you can do with this game, different RNG manipulations and the like. It can look very intimidating to new people, but honestly, I would recommend anyone to give the game a try. There's a lot of personality that can go into it. Menu routing is one thing. You know, you can have maybe a more optimal menu to do, but if you just play a lot, you can also get really comfortable with what your menu is as well. Mentioned the power ring before, but there's also a heart ring that you can get. The manipulation for that is very simple to do, and it'll allow your health to passively regenerate. So if you're worried about, you know, getting hit a lot or, you know, having to memorize a ton of stuff, don't be intimidated whatsoever. But yeah, so we saw Sagaz do some menuing. We get the mystery seeds. Every time you enter one of those seed tree screens, you're also opening up a teleport location. So in our starting town there, you would have seen the runners go to the Ember Tree. That was just to open up the warp point, even if they did not actually get any seeds from the tree whatsoever. But yeah, so doing the menu early to get the seed satchel out saves the menu when getting the mystery seeds. Mystery seeds have a chance of acting as one of the other seeds, 20% chance, as well as some property. So by doing that menu, you just save a little bit of a menu as well. And of course, Dungeon 2 here, and we get our croissant. For whatever reason, this piece of bread allows us to pick up heavy objects, and it is in fact this dungeon's main item. It's actually a fairly interesting dungeon, just for the fact that you enter it and then you'll end up leaving it and approaching it from a different area. So kind of neat in that regard. Just broken up a little bit. Not unlike these blocks that are being broken apart even more by the explosives. And yeah, you guys would have already seen, but save and quit was a very important tool. Good for saving little bits of time getting back to the dungeon entrance. Unfortunately, even though we enter the dungeon from a different portion, the save and quit will take you back to the main dungeon entrance. For all the other dungeons, it doesn't really matter too much, but for this one it's a little bit more noteworthy just because you can enter it from different areas. And yeah, there is a save and quit option, but it's a little bit slower than simply doing save and continue and then a reset. There are two types of resets, a hard reset and a soft reset. When you do a hard reset, you reset your RNG values. So there are times where the runners will only do a soft reset in order to maintain their RNG. And then there are other times where they do the hard reset. So as an example, when they came out of the Temple of Winter, they did a soft reset in order to carry those values leading up into the exiting of Subroja and so on. But in places like Dungeon 1, possibly after Dungeon 2, if you're doing Heart Ring, you could do a hard reset. And that way you'd reset your values and get exactly what you like. You don't have to worry about carrying anything. Yeah, this dungeon is actually surprisingly scary. Those swamps and the bats, the keys, they are your worst enemy. Well, saying that, of course, Sagaz went into the facade fight. A big reason why the runners play on Japanese 1.0 is just because Facade's hitbox is always active, even though you cannot see it. So you don't have to worry about initiating the fight. You wouldn't have to worry about manipulating Facade's RNG. You can pretty much just pick up the bomb and chuck him. Another difference, of course, would be the text. The text scrolls in a very interesting way in the game. It just goes in terms of lines. But of course, Japanese is shorter, so a little bit of time saved there too. Ooh, having a little bit of a fall here. Yeah, keys are very much a main offender in terms of the speedrun. They also advanced RNG, so there are people coming up with some theory routes in terms of RNG manipulation, and Keys are, like, honestly, the game's real boss. I mean, technically, it'd still be 1.0, but yeah, it's the Japanese version specifically. That is true. And here we have a very disgruntled Dodongo. Very hungry. We don't feed him the proper diet. Acid, alkaline, explosive. Later, though, we will be seeing another Dodongo, a much nicer one, much cuter one. One of the 3 animal friends, but in terms of the game, you can only have one, I guess, quote-unquote, permanent animal friend, and we will be getting Ricky. Ricky's cool and all, but Dimitri is good as boy. Some like Moosh, some do like Ricky. They'll have different properties and attributes, but yeah, the season's lore, the lore can extend quite a bit. That's Dimitri when he grew up after being bullied, and it's all sad, and became the proud boss of a dungeon. And pardon me, in this route, Sagaz is now going to the Emerald Tree to trigger that warp cutscene, and we'll be evaluating the ring here now. Powering, very strong, increases your attack by 2, but also increases the damage you take as well. So in terms of the menuing, you'll see the runners strategically turn it off or on depending on when they would like to use it. And yeah, of course, we just saw Sagaz go through the town. We see Mighty here. He got Winter a different season. At the beginning of the game, it had more of an impact for how they'd move around, just because the snow piles could get in the way, but now it doesn't really matter at all. Just kind of a fun, noteworthy thing that it's a random season when you enter the main town. It can be manipulated, but at the very beginning of the game, it's especially random. And here, kind of tying into the animal friend thing I mentioned earlier, Sagaz have a fight with Blano. You might recognize him from Link's Awakening, but we fight him in order to get Ricky's punching glove. Ricky is a boxing kangaroo that we are going to have here. He has some awkward movement, so, you know, to the chagrin of the runners, we do have to use him as our animal friend, but he is the fastest animal friend to get. He kind of hops, well, he hops. He doesn't kind of hop, he hops, but his movement kind of goes in this segmented type of manner. So sometimes you can accidentally get an extra hop as you're trying to go through a screen transition, like what just happened to him there, and it'll waste a bit of time. So you kind of have to move, let go, for, you know, pause for a second, hit forward again. If you do it too fast, you'll get an extra hop, and I'm just hipping the hopping, and bipping and bopping your time if you're not too careful. And yeah, because I don't have the Roc's Feather, it's useful for going over the holes that you'll find in the overworld. Past that though, one really big noteworthy feature is that you can jump up cliffs. So yeah, the runners still fairly close together, not too much of a distance yet, and the way the game can go, there's a lot of time swings. But of course, Sagaz has been maintaining a bit of a lead here. And Mighty now getting his Pegasus seeds, so we've opened up another warp point, but also we got our Speedy Zoom Zoom seed to use. I forget the pixel movement for what the Pegasus seeds do. I think it's approximately double, might be like 40. I don't know, I shouldn't talk numbers, but it makes it go quicker. Very handy. When we got the Rock's Feather, the game, with just Rock's Feather alone, expects that you'll go over a 1-tile gap. When you have the Pegasus seeds, the game anticipates that you'll go over a 2-tile gap. But given the nature of the game and its mechanics, with the normal Rock Feather, you can jump over a 2-tile gap if spaced really well. And with the Pegasus seeds, you can actually go over 3. So, this game is often described as being very movement and combat heavy. Oh, it's very nice. You see Sagaz kind of do a little bit of a shuffle there. Ricky does have a charge attack, where if you hold the A button, you'll charge up a tornado. That would be a fine option to get rid of the bushes to jump across, but just a tiny bit slower. Another nice feature is that Ricky can just jump through the snow pile. It's not a problem. You can also punch up bombable walls. And yeah, so obviously we finished Dungeon 2, so back to Subroja. Kind of spoiled what our intention is for being here, but right now we are looking for some star ore Sagaz got on the second dig. And taking that, we'll be able to give it to Rosa in order to get her ribbon. Or rather, we'll take it to this store to get her ribbon. Not any of the peach stones or the wood shield, but the ribbon. And she'll be so happy with this. She'll take us on a date. I'll take her key. And we'll gain access to the temple. You saw Mighty pick up a square gem there. In order to enter the Dungeon 6 area, we need 4 gems. They definitely don't at all look like PlayStation symbols. No, I'm sorry, they definitely look like PlayStation symbols. They're definitely not colored the same. There we go. But either way, we need all 4 in order to enter. So given the area, we just pick it up then. Just gonna wait until the beeping goes away. So that is a lovely sound. Nothing like heart beating to wake you up in the morning. Yeah, so I'm just taking Rosa. And now we are promptly going to leave Subroja. And yeah, here we'll have Ricky. We'll still have another East term later. But for now, we won't see him for a little bit. Oh yeah, unfortunately there is no dancing minigame. I would like to play it personally, but it takes much too long to do in order to get Dimitri's flute. We also have no need for the level 1 boomerang that you get from it because we have bombs. It's a little unfortunate, but kind of a fun little thing here that people may have not known. You can use the shovel in order to flip over these enemies here. Their name of which I'm currently blanking on, but did know at some point. Maybe if I had some coffee, I'd know it better, but And yeah, upcoming here is the Floor Master manipulation. So yeah, if you see him try and move in a specific manner, it's just to facilitate for that type of manip. Unfortunately, he did not get it, so you will have to menu to a sword. It can be a little tricky. Again, it is determinative. It is purely based on the player, but it is still rather skillful and hard to do. The window of time that you have in order to accomplish it is rather tight. Ooh, very nice. So we grab the key here, and then you want to fall in the hole in order to get back to the entrance. The pixel tolerance in order to make the floor crumble without falling into it is rather tight. So it looked a little precarious, but Sagaz did get successfully, so that's a nice little time save for him. Then we have our 200 IQ difficult block puzzle here. You do actually, jokes aside, have to be careful how you move them. But you know, fairly straightforward. Still somewhat early into the game, so they don't throw too much at you, but... And yeah, we got our Zols, the little slime enemies, our mimics here, the hard hat beetles. Yeah, the mimics reflect your movement, so you can control how they move in that room. Take them up fairly quickly. And we get our Rock's Feather, one of the best items in the game. Jumping in Zelda, platforming, pretty interesting dynamic. There actually is a sort of Z-axis in the game, so if you jump and do an attack, it will not register as being on the ground, unlike Link's Awakening. Even though this game looks very similar to Link's Awakening, mechanically they're actually very, very different. Ooh, you see Sagaz try and go for a menu buffer there. If you time it just right, you can actually jump off that thwomp. But I think he was a frame late. Either way, I tried to go for it. Had a nice recovery, so not a big deal. It's a good mimic manipulation by Mighty. Again, not too far behind. But yeah, just very fun item with the Rock's Feather, and come out with Pegasus boots, or boots, seeds. You can move around in some very fun fashion. Looks like you tried to do another jump on the way back, but had a very nice salvage of it. Oh, and Maya got the jump. Very nice. So in case you're wondering what it would look like, just look on my screen there. And yeah, round 2 of the Floor Master manipulation. So if you felt really bad about your last minute, get this first try and practice every time. How could I fail it? There we go. Last mistake, purely an anomaly. First try, Pog Tempo. And of course, using the feather can go over the switch, so we don't have to worry about the crumbling floor. And we'll have our mini boss here. It takes 4 hits in order to take them out, but with the powering, it's much shorter. So you can see just how quick that fight ends up being. A really nice thing about taking out a mini boss is that you get a warp back to the beginning of the dungeon. So not so much in this dungeon, a little bit. I mean, you'll see it in kind of all the dungeons, but saving, quitting into the beginning of the dungeon, and then using the warp to quickly get back to a latter spot in the dungeon. You'll see that right here by Sagaz getting the boss key, and then going to make his way back to the boss. But you saw minecarts earlier in the run. In the next dungeon, there will be minecarts as well, and when you enter them, where you leave them is where they'll stay until you reset. So just some interesting quirks in how, when, and where you do the save and quit comes into play. And here we have Mothula, a bit different from Link to the Past. kind of more reminiscent of Moldorm. But I'd say a lot less tricky to get a grasp on. And again, with the level 2 powering, just absolutely melting it. And yeah, Mighty now getting his boss key. Again, the runners are still very close, and later into the run, there will be some very deciding tricks that could come up. A lot of things that can have big chunks of time save or time loss. And if people are familiar with Link to the Past, our next dungeon is a water dungeon. And it's kind of funny because in Link to the Past, Swamp as a dungeon doesn't do a whole lot of damage to you in terms of the enemies, but it's kind of like, you know, 1,000 paper cuts. It's the same idea here. It's really easy to lose your health in Dungeon 4. It's a very neat dungeon, lots of minecarts, a little bit of a maze to try and traverse, but it's considered to be one of the more dangerous dungeons, just how you can lose so much time in various ways. Just, you know, it doesn't take a strong enemy to seduce a lot of them. And here we have the last time we'll be using Ricky. This portion of the world is actually generated depending on the animal friend that you have. Just a very, like, the speedrun does not showcase the full game and what it has to offer in terms of a lot of the color and bonus content and whatnot. So as a casual playthrough I recommend it, but also as a speedrun I recommend it, just because it is very malleable in terms of how you are in skill as a player and to how the route and everything you can do within it. But if you had Dimitri, which we will be seeing very shortly here, this entire area would be water. And if we had Moosh, because his ability is flight, you would see a lot of holes throughout the overworld. So, in conjunction with how Ricky does not take very long to get, and the more convenient overworld, it's the reason why Ricky is chosen. So here we have Sunken City. Definitely not going to have a water dungeon coming out next to all. I definitely didn't already spoil it either. But what I will spoil is that we just got the Gale Seed. Gale Seeds are very handy. They allow us to warp to the various trees. So, you know, you think like flute, you know, teleport, ocarina, song, whichever. Same idea. And here we have cutest boy, goodest boy, Dimitri the Dodongo. He can obviously swim and go up waterfalls. So, you know, waterfalls is really just the cliffs of, you know, just water cliffs. Kind of interesting thing here. If anyone is familiar with fighting games, you might understand the concept of negative edging, but I'm going to assume that obviously not everyone would. So for that little puzzle there, you need to be able to take a sword toward spin and release it on all 4 switches. But what you can do is you can swing the sword, hold the button, and the game still reads that as your input. I don't know how many dimensions we're dealing with here, but basically you can hit your sword, charge it, then go to the other 3 blocks, release, and you'll hit them all. And I'll still read as hitting all 4 blocks in a single strike. I mean, not a single strike, but you guys know what I'm saying. Yeah, they are bullying him. In exchange, we give them explosives. Because, you know, kids like that, you know, bigger and better thing. So if they can't hurt the wildlife, what do? We give them, you know, explosives, some bombs. Because we are responsible. Link, kind of a terrible person in this game. Or at least it's hotly debated. Giving bombs to children. Later it will actually be doing landscaping and destroying the land itself. But it's to save it, right? The ends justify the means. Or so is the running philosophy that we are kind of seeing in this game. And no, Sagaz is not farming for ore chunks to spend. This is a auto-scroller. We have two Subrosa brothers. After ditching Rosa, next time we enter, we get mugged. Don't know if they're friends of hers, but not a whole lot you can do here. The way they see the character is actually really interesting. I was watching Tompa's task. Ooh! Scott's getting caught there having to redo it. That's a completely unforced error. There are ways you can move and never get caught, but maybe it's like me feeling a little bit tired and just didn't realize that he fell a little bit short. It's good for May though in terms of catching up. He wasn't at the end of the auto-scroller, so it's not too bad, but it's still a substantial time cut. And now you can see how Mighty himself is entering the cutscene, or the auto-scroller. I mean, it's effectively a glorified cutscene, but... besides ore chunks, there's actually an enemy that can pop up out of the ground. So generally shoveling is pretty risky, but... not as risky as getting caught. Pay no attention to the red square area. That Sagaz also pointed out very bluntly. It's an older game, I'm sure there's nothing special to it. Wow, first try dig. It's impressive. So after having our feathers stolen, Sagaz got back. The fake ore that we got is actually the strongest weapon in the game, but the feather is infinitely more useful, and there's no way to retain the ore with us. So we say goodbye to the green ore, and welcome back to our feather. First try dig for Mighty too. Wow, it's incredible. Again, more shades of Link to the Past with getting the flute. Yet here we are in the next temple, and we are getting summer. If you look outside, you'll see that the weather RNG is no longer summer. It's transitioning into autumn. But in the game we have the power to force it to be summer. And we'll be doing that in order to get into the next dungeon. Summer will allow vines and things to grow. Or not summer, spring, pardon me! Spring. Oops. Close enough. We'll start with S. So yeah, spring here. Spring will allow flowers to bloom, all that fun stuff. And here we have a little bit of a glitch in the game, Cocoa Clip. Normally you'd have to turn things into spring and do, you know, an extra screen or two in order to get around, but you can actually clip into the wall when pixel with Link, and that's enough for the game to read that you can grab the bird with the bracelet. And here we have our other animal friend. Whole reason to enter that cave was to get some nanners in order to give it to Moosh. His wings are dainty, but his gait is mighty. He can do ground pounds, he can fly, he can just look cute. He's blue. He really just does a ton of stuff. And yeah, unfortunately Mighty ended up using his potion. So going for the powering, you're able to get a potion, and whereas the heart ring has a ton of safety, where you passively regenerate health, the potion is just a straight up full heal. So the runners want to maintain that for as long as possible. Fortunately, Haji's there and had a little bit of trouble in the room, but is now here successfully. Again, not too far behind, but little bits of time lost, right? Sagaz was attacking those moblins, hoping for a bomb drop. After giving the bombs to the children, we don't have bombs for the dungeon. There is some spots where you can find bombs, but they're a little bit more out of the way. The dungeon itself actually does have a chest in which you can acquire bombs, but moblins are the most convenient way to get those. Saw Sagaz do a 2-tile gap without a Pegasus seed. And you also saw that he did not just hold down coming out of the stairs. You'll notice it with Mighty too when he gets there. If you do, you won't actually be able to make the gap. You have to be offset a little bit. Just making sure that you're not cleanly on the tile grid. If you've played the game, you'll know how when you go over the edge of something, the game kind of like centers you. It tries to pull you into a position. That kind of gets utilized by being off position. It lets you have a larger tolerance in order to make the jump. Yeah, Dungeon 4, Water Dungeon, Sour Please Dungeon. Here is where we want the bombs. Yeah, and the hitbox of the bombs can be tricky, and then the enemies getting in the way is no fun either. And Jay here on Mighty's screen. Yeah, you saw how you went to the right a little bit, did a diagonal movement. That can be a very tricky jump, so very good on him. This room, pushing some pots. And it kind of feels like you're going slow, but logically, you're doing everything that you need to do. So, kind of a strange sensation, just pushing some pots. Doesn't feel very quick, but is in fact quick to do. And yeah, Mighty entering the dungeon now too. A big thing that you'll see in this run is Pegasus seed routing too. So obviously the games have their various resources. We did need 10 rupees in order to fight Blano. So rupees were fine. Ooh, but so I was taking some hits here. A bit of a Mega Man section. The game was worked on with Capcom. So no surprise that there might be a small cameo in that regard. But yeah, managing your Pegasus seeds, your different resources, very important. You know, it can be really easy to go, oh, I'll just like spam Pegasus seeds, but the runners are definitely using them in a very strategic manner. It's a very nice jump in that room. There are all those crumbling platforms and keys, but whatever, just jump over and enter the minecart. And yeah, so if you push an enemy into the water, like, if an enemy is not on the screen, the game reads it as being dead, right? Not really existing. So you can push an enemy into the water, even if you do not kill it with the damage that you do. It effectively, the game effectively reads it as defeating the enemy. So in order to trigger that key, you need to have all enemies taken care of. The Gale Seeds also have a similar feature. They can teleport Link, but you can also teleport an enemy. If you teleport an enemy, the game effectively reads as though they're no longer alive or in that room. They're definitely alive though, like don't worry, they're safe. Link is not being at all cruel or unusual. Ooh, very nice jumping there. Again, you really want to maintain your potion and have a heart playing with fire, but you know, in speedrun you also cannot be too scared. Often if you're too scared or hesitate, you'll end up getting more errors. But Sagaz being rewarded with his bravery currently. And gets a fairy, and he is no longer at all in danger. Balls to the walls. Aguna, the boss there, is like Aghanim from Link to the Past, but much better. Doesn't have the same RNG type elements. The position in which he appears, he will, but that's very easy to take care of. And here we have our slingshot. So obviously you have the satchel, you can use the seed, but with slingshot you can project them. So kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, we use the minecart, and so now we're going to take that minecart that we left and go in and light the torches. Even though the mini-boss has been taken care of, if you were to save and quit and then use the warp, the minecart would not be there. So in part of dungeon routing, that is why that portion is done earlier than later. Yeah, and some favorable patterns for Sagaz there. The keys can get in your way and block the shots. You don't want to take an extra minecart trip if you can help it. And thankfully did not have to. Yeah, a bit of a tricky jump there. You saw he tried to go for menu buffer. Was unsuccessful, but then not doing the buffer ended up getting it, so... just kind of funny in that regard, but... didn't waste too much time there. Again, does have a lead to give, so, you know, in a favorable position, especially maintain the potion, but... You know, if you're yourself as a runner, going for a good time, you know, you still don't want those errors, but... So yeah, Sagaz switching over to the Gale Seed here in order to hit that switch, but excuse me, you can use the Gale Seeds to take out these wizards without having to fight them. So again, I'm sure they're going to a very nice place. I guess just send them to the beach or something. As far as the game knows, they're dead, but they're definitely not dead, don't worry. They're safe and sound. The dungeon doesn't have ceilings, so they didn't plummet into the ceiling either. They're completely fine. Very nice jump there. That's a tricky one. A few methods that you can do to get over it. You can use a menu buffer. You can just straight up unbuffer, try and jump over it. Or you can use damage boost by the Bizrobe in order to facilitate and use your jump to get across. And here we have Goma. Kind of more of a crab Goma. But using our slingshot and scent seeds. Scent seeds do damage when you fire them. And there's a 3-pixel window in which you can continuously hit Goma. It's a little bit more rhythmic. But a surprisingly tricky fight if you're not lined up correctly. If you're not on seeds, then you'll have to tap into your Ember Seeds. And we will need those for later areas. But that was a very nice, very clean fight. And Demani now coming up to the Wizard Room. Yeah, and so on Sagaz's screen, he's going to be getting our second gem here, a red triangle gem. So far, a blue square and a red triangle. We have the jump coming over from Mighty here. Menuing early, so it looks like he's going to do the damage buffer. Oh. Or I guess not. Pardon me. It kind of looked like he was waiting, but I guess he was just manipulating the way the wizards would fire. Either way, got over it first try. That's the important thing. Still done in a very timely manner. Yeah. His positioning is good, but the timing is just a little bit off. There is a rhythm to it. It can be a little deceptive. You can kind of basically get 3 shots in a cycle. Missed, I think, 2 shots there, but that's still more than fine. He still had Sensu's spare, so he wasn't having to menu or change anything. Just like a second or 2. And yeah, back to Sabroja. You see Sagaz picking up the bomb flower. If you guys want, you can get your prediction in chat for what we might need it for while we're in Sabroja. Kind of a funny thing. So the Sabrosian workers, when I was first starting the game, I was wondering if their sweat would like roll the RNG. It has obviously no bearing on the RNG, but the kid in town who throws a ball to his dog actually does roll the RNG when he throws the ball. This is kind of funny in that regard. Surprise! We're getting autumn. So autumn, very useful. No longer as hot outside, but just like outside, you know, leaves fall from the tree, and a lot of those pesky little holes you saw in the overworld will now get covered. As well, those stone mushrooms that you saw earlier, they will now be active, blossoming. I don't know. But anyway, we can lift them up and get them out of our way. Those are there, right there, on his screen on the right. And they're all stone and kind of boring looking earth tones, earth palette. But here, once you get to autumn and go 2 screens forward, you'll see these mushrooms that are surprisingly annoying. They're a little bit, yeah, these right here. You actually have to wait for them to be off screen before you can lift another one. So you saw him try and do a small movement to throw it off screen, but unfortunately threw it north. And yeah, another bit of a water minecart dungeon. Not so much water, more so minecart. Yeah, Dungeon 5. Dungeon 5, we got a very cool item here. One of my favorites in Zelda, the magnetic gloves. Currently Sagaz is ahead. Mighty is now getting autumn, and Sagaz inside Dungeon 5. Not too far behind though. Again, still fairly close between the runners. There is a little bit more of a gap than there was earlier, but there's still so much that is in the run. And yeah, Sagaz taking some hits here, getting a little bit dire, but yeah. And here we got magnetic gloves, and we swiftly say no to the end ball. We are not going to use the gloves to escape. Instead, we're gonna save and quit and do some very fun jumps here. So you can use magnetic gloves to attract yourself to a pole, and obviously it'll let you get across the gap. But there's also a one-frame trick where when you let go of the glove, you can jump, and it'll let you jump on the gap that you're currently standing. So Sagaz did a menu buffer there in order to facilitate an easier jump. Yeah, very fun. Very different item, and yeah, unfortunately he had to use his potion there. So both players on equal terms in terms of using their potion. So the health you see for both runners is the health we now get. Very fortuitous pose to drop for Sagaz there. Those Armos Knights, the order that you kill them in is the order that you have to check the chests in. So if you're not paying attention, you'll have to reset the room. But our nurse here had no worry with that. But yeah, just the game series, not just this game, but Oracle Ages, very interesting games, completely different games. It's not like, you know, a Pokemon Red or Blue kind of thing where there's some more subtle differences. They are entirely different adventures, and then when you beat one, you can actually link them together. Not Zelda them together, but if you do, it'll kind of change the adventure for either one a little bit. And yeah, I can see Scott's going for some fun jumps here. Yeah, those little rotating swivels. You can magnet to them, and because of the way the game reads them, you're actually able to walk on air for a little bit after letting go from having them turn. Just simply because normally the game expects you to magnetize yourself and then propel yourself while over the gap. So they had to make it generous. But we might see Mighty do a bit of a different technique than Sagaz used here. It would just let you walk in the air a little bit. But Sagaz just going for the 1 frame jump trick. And we see him entering the mid-boss's dungeon, Sagaz, the tiger, even though he's a saber-tooth. But he is no less extinct. And yeah, so we took out the enemy earlier, the Dark Nut, in order to spawn that orb. And now, obviously able to use it to get across and access this area, which will lead to our boss key. Some very nice platforming there. And zoop, zoop, zoop. Go back into the warp. And we can now make our way to the boss. And yeah, I see Mighty, how he kind of just like held a direction and walked for a little bit. That was what I was trying to describe earlier. Sagaz did not go for it. He used menu buffers instead. The ring that they keep taking on putting off is the level 2 power ring. The level 2 powering increases your damage substantially. That is why Sagaz the Tiger had a very bad time. Because it did so much damage. But you also take more damage if you have it equipped. So, you know, it's prudent to not always have it equipped. But only when you need it more situationally. Real quick here, we have Sagaz fighting Dig Dogger. So this game was originally level 2 power jewelry. Ooh, quarter heart for Mighty. Takes out Sagaz and get a refill here, but I just noticed that. I'm like, ooh, ooh. Have to be careful. Not a fear, not a worry. Takes out Sagaz. Yeah, Dig Dogger, you have to hit him, I believe, 5 times using the Magnet Gloves to pull around that flail, that mace and bit ball and chain without the chain. Blah, blah, blah. And you'll get the mini Dig Doggers. They move in a very linear manner, but how they spread out is random. And so you have to manipulate the ball in order to attack them. And if you don't do it in time, they will reform to a giant Dig Dogger, and that is no bueno. And yeah, we got our 3rd gem here, green orb. I'll be getting our 4th gem, because we will need the 4th one, all 4, in order to enter Dungeon 6. But yeah, the route that the 2 runners are doing is a level 2 power jewelry type object route. The game calls them rings, but you know, postmodern, Postmodern, you know, possibly relative society, sure. Don't have to put them on your finger. But there's different routes that you can take a heart ring if you're a new runner. Powering is a little bit trickier. It's more for experienced runners. And yeah, just can attack the enemies quicker. But big fun part of the game is the fact that you do have a lot more different routes that you can take. And again, the heart ring will regenerate your health. So if you're new to the game, definitely very much recommended to check out that type of run. Sagaz is using the slingshot with mystery seeds in order to try and light that torch, just because it's a little bit quicker, hopefully, than menuing. Got some bad RNG, so he couldn't light the torch. It was a 20% chance in order for a mystery seed to be a different seed, and he was hoping for the ember seed. So it took a few extra tries, but you want the mystery seed in order to attack that giant question mark that doesn't at all look suspicious. And I'm getting the Moldarm. Take out the Moldarm in order to get that last gem. Sagaz currently in Tarma Ruins. Probably my favorite area of the entire game. And it's my favorite music in the entire game. Just a bit of a puzzle forest of sorts. You have all 4 seasons, so you need to use all 4 in order to make your way through. In the game itself, the Moldarm that Mighty is about to go to is actually called the Black Beast. It sounds very fearsome and mighty. But despite having a big mouth, it is simply just a Moldarm. And there is a trade sequence in the game. So normally you get one item from a character, take it to another character, so on and so forth. Eventually leading up into this area in Tarmarans, where you would meet a Deku. And the Deku would tell you password in order to get to the Noble Sword here. Not the Master Sword. There is actually a Master Sword, but you can only get that if you link your game with another game. But if you know where to go, you can just simply go there, which is pretty cool. You can save the entire trade sequence and get the level 2 sword. It is much stronger, and in tandem with the powering, yeah, just you do a lot of damage. Nice little benefit is the pots that you'll find in the game can be slashed apart with the sword. So you'll end up seeing that a little bit later into the run here. When you have full health, you can shoot sword beams. It's very nice that you can get a stronger sword here. Not everyone gets level 2 sword. There are, again, a lot of different routes that you can take for the game. It's a very good game for personalizing what you like to do. But in this case, I do believe both runners will be getting the level 2 sword. So yeah, we see Sagaz finishing out the puzzle here. Got the armless out of the way in order to facilitate a shortcut back up when changing the season to spring. We have a very mysterious individual here. Kind of comes out of nowhere. It's a little bit rude, honestly. We're fairly busy on our quest. Not really sure what the deal is, but you know, we play anyway. We say hello and then they leave, and I guess it's good, I guess. Yeah, Dungeon 6 here. Another very fun dungeon with another really cool dungeon item. Actually, probably say it's my favorite item, or close to. But just to give a little bit of the early spoiler, it is the level 2 boomerang. So if you did Subroja dancing, you could get the level 1 boomerang. We had the bombs, so we did not need it in order to hit the switch in the temple. But if you kept doing the dance, then you could also get Dimitri's flute. But here we get to skip straight to level 2 boomerang on the magic boomerang. As an item, when you throw it, you can actually have full control over where it moves until you release the button. It also does damage, not to everything, but to a lot of things. It's almost like powder from Link to the Past, if you're familiar. You can use it on... trouble, Sagaz here. Yeah, these platforms, you look like you're on it, and then you just, like, void through them. Just kind of like Kago right on through. So a little bit tricky there. What if he used an extra seed? It's not through, that's the important thing. Does not have his potion, so again, you know, he's been able to play fairly risky, but without that potion, you know, you might have to make some consolidations in terms of your strategy. Using the slingshot and the Galaxy, you take out, shoot, I forgot what these enemies are called. I used to know! I promise, I promise! Still waking up. I'll know chat, are you sure? I see Metroid on screen. It's looking a little bit greener, but... I mean, it's a Game Boy game, right? But yeah, Magic Boomerang, very nice. You need them to take out these Armos. 2 hits here. Again, it should be noted that in the casual experience, you can get a lot of different rings. So there's even a ring that will increase the damage of the boomerang. Even if you watch this run and feel like you're spoiling the game, and you might be disinclined in order to do a blind playthrough, honestly, you're probably not going to remember much anything, and there is so much more to the game. So don't feel like you ruined your experience and you can't enjoy it. It's a really good game, both in terms of speedrun or casually. And yeah. Yeah, taking a little bit of a damage. It's con to face tank to that switch, but now he has 3/4 part. So getting a little close here. Losing this health, even if he stays alive, it might change his movement, which can give Mighty more time in order to catch up. You kind of have to operate that you're not playing scared, but at the same time, you can't be too foolhardy in how you progress through the game. It can be very risky, and Sagaz taking a risky jump there. I shouldn't say too risky, but if he fell, it would have been bad. And it can be tricky, but I mean, it's like anything else in the game, right? So showing that confidence, not being deterred, pushes ahead. And it would reflect why he does have a very strong time in the game in terms of the speedrun. But yeah, using the sword, you're able to slash the pots, and that will get you the fairy and more pairs of seeds. So the boldness was rewarded, did not lose time, and as well, got his refill and is in no danger. Let's see, my not too far behind. A little bit healthier, so won't be in the same danger zone. Often you'll see the character slash your sword and jump. Jump canceling can save a little bit of time here. So you would have noticed it earlier, but can notice it still throughout the rest of the run. And we have Vire, reminiscent of A Link's Awakening. And boom, he is no more. Yeah, I can pull out the times for you right now, but yeah, approximately a 1:39 by Z-Master, and Sagaz currently has the number 2 time. Just put in a lot of work and risen up the leaderboard much more recently here. Oh, we have a fun little 50-50 situation here. If you wait long enough, ropes will spawn from the ceiling. But, ooh, yeah, this is getting unlucky here. It might give Mighty a lot of time to catch up, and wow. So ropes will spawn from the ceiling, but it takes a lot of time. And in this case, it's quicker to leave the room and go back in. But every time you do, it's adding time as well. He had to use an extra prize to seed. So yeah, equipping the slingshot here, you'll see we are whisking the hard hat beetles away. They're definitely okay. I'm sure they'll have a great day. And Link just entered the room. You can use the boomerang, and the enemies are so stunned by the fact that you threw this blue V-shaped piece of material at them. They just don't even know what to do. Just kind of chill there. Slightly bewildered. And you're able to move forward. And another reminiscent boss of the original Zelda, Manhanla. The mouths open up opposite of where Link is. So if you're trying to open the mouth in a certain area, you want to be opposite of it. And because every time you take out a head, Manhanla will move faster, you want to make sure that you're equally damaging the parts so that there isn't too much of a dissonance between the heads and just not creating the fight to be longer than it should be. Very tricky fight, just because of how Manhanla moves, the time in which the mouths open, and then, you know, the damage and maneuvering through the field because of the sand conveyor thingies. And yeah, Mighty here having some bad RNG, not like Sagaz, so in terms of a race, you really do like to see when the RNG between the runners is comparable. But in this case, for Mighty's sake, you know, that could have been an advantage for him. From a purity standpoint, it was nice that the RNG was similar. But unfortunately, in terms of trying to give Mighty a bit of a break here, it was not similar. Nice little trick here with Magic Boomerang. You're able to shoot it through these 2 blocks in order to hit that switch just a little bit quicker. And back to our favorite place, Sabrosia. Here we are talking to a pirate captain. Looking a little worse for the wear. Maybe we could take a little bit of vitamin C. Maybe a little vitamin D. I don't know how much sun they get in Sabrosia, but looking a little ghastly. But we currently want to utilize their ship in order to get to the next dungeon. So we talk to them, and more or less they go, I want me rusty object. And so where else would it be than this area we've not yet been to? I mean, I don't know why I wasn't in Dungeon 1. On those chests you skipped, might have had it. I haven't seen that the pirate told him roughly where it might be. So here we are in the desert, and gonna try to get the bell. We have this red pirate dude here. It's kind of chillin', a little bit of a loner. Red color, although he might not really jive with the rest of the group. Maybe a Pokemon reference here. Team Aqua, Team Magma. Been ostracized to the desert, but either way, I think Sagaz did a bit of a manipulation in order to get the bell on the second sandpit here. Yeah, bit of an RNG section, not unlike the Star Ore from earlier. Yeah, got the rusty bell, and unfortunately now we need to fix it. We need to unrustify it. You could put it in a jar of Coke, but it'll take much too long. Coke having, I think, like pH level roughly about 3. Something like that. One of the useful things learned in elementary school. Unless I'm mistaken. But what's much quicker is to take it to professionals that can fix it. So here we enter the shop, and they're all like, whoa dude, they got this cool bell, that'd be great to fix, because that's what we do for a living. and they ask if you want to fix it. If you say yes, yes please, they'll say no way Jose. And if you say like something like get it done or just do it, they're all like bueno Marco, and they will fix it for you. And so yeah, now we have it fixed, and we'll take it to the pirate dude. And pirate dude will talk to the other pirate dudes. I'll go on pirate cruise. Not all inclusive, but you know, we take what we can get. Yeah, somebody having to do a couple of extra checks here. Still gets good RNG though. You could have to go to a very out of the way location if it was not one of those earlier sun pits. And so yeah, basically a cutscene here. You want to go and mash through the text. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Let's go to the screen, but very nice tune. And unfortunately, you cannot have a bathroom break or anything. You have to mash through text. Although I think Sagaz might have done that anyway. I'm not sure, but if you have your opponents race up, you can see their positioning. And, you know, bodily fluids, very important to route in as well. Just being out to sea. Might have to go to sea. And pirates here, as a show of good faith to Link, are dancing in circle. They're a bit older, so, you know, different culture, different custom. Presumably not a mating dance of any sort, but celebratory. Celebrating the victory of a successful voyage. But they are now tired, so we are going to dock at port, which conveniently happens to be where Dungeon 7 is. They may or may not have been seasick. And it's also another working theory. That may not actually be a theory, but you know. I also like to think that they lack muscles and ligaments, so finding balance is a little bit more difficult. But yeah. Dungeon 7. So you saw Sagaz do a reset here. That is to reset his RNG value, do some slashes, and just attempting to set up the dungeon in a way that facilitates for a much quicker dungeon. Upcoming here, he's going to be doing a pose skip. Normally, you have to take out these pose sisters in order to progress further into the dungeon. This pose sister would require getting this key in this room that Sagaz is currently in. And then you take it around, you light a torch, which is summon her, and then you'd fight her, and then the torches stay lit. But unfortunately, fam, it will not be lit. We will go over here and wait for the pose seed to run out. Or I guess use the same seed. Either way, making our way through here. And through some very precise movement, you can get through and just barely skip the warp to the beginning of the dungeon. Just barely. And so that saves you a key, as well as a lot of time. And so you saw the manipulation that Sagaz was doing earlier. It's actually to try and set these Armos. If you're able to carry it, the Armos will be in a much more favorable position. I'm not as familiar with the manipulation that Sagaz does, so it kind of looked like he didn't quite carry it the way he was hoping to. But he still got a a good RNG regardless. And yeah, Mighty now entering the dungeon, also doing his manipulations. And yeah, post skip is one of those tricks that if you end up failing it, it can eat up a lot of time. Not only the time, but as well the resource that you use going into the manipulation. Pose the seeds, very much a commodity. So Sagaz being the leader here, playing off successfully, we'll have to see how Mighty will compare in regard. If he gets the trick first try, obviously he won't be losing that time. Upcoming in the future will be HSS skip, and that's another kind of bit of a gatekeep trick in terms of the run. Still far off, but there's still a lot of potential for a lead change here. And yeah, saw Sagaz doing more sword slashes. Again, there are 3 different sword swipes they're trying to listen for, and ooh, yeah, Mighty just barely not getting the post skip. So here you'll see the consequence of it. You have to make your way back, and he's now down a Paris seed. In terms of the count, he will be synonymous to Sagaz, whom I believe had 2 at the time. But having to walk back here, just not fun, and yeah, just... something like this could give enough of a buffer to Sagaz, where even if he does make errors, that might not be... yeah, I might not be able to make it back. It's a very tricky jump. There is some tolerance to it, but it's yeah, you still need sharp movement. And yeah, Sagaz doing another buffer in order to jump across. Runners can go down at the screen there in order to have them spawn at that portion, if in the event that they do fall. Sagaz being brave, not going for it. Did fall, have to redo the jump, but did the jump successfully, not a problem on the second turn, so just continued. And Mighty does make through, that's really good. We'll not have to worry about the post skip again, so, you know, if you're feeling a little bit tilted or tired or, you know, what have you, that portion is now done. It should also be understood that, you know, given the nature of a speedrun in a tournament, it's a very chaotic format. You can be an exceptional runner and do things, you know, perfectly almost all the time. But if you just have that one bad run or whichever, you know, just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, that could, you know, determine your race. It can be really easy to overfocus on a lot of little things like that. But really, the way I personally see these tournaments is it's a very good showcase of a game that you love, community coming together to learn the game, to watch the game. You know, just all in all, a celebration of the game and the community itself. You know, whether you're wanting to learn the game, whether you've been running the game. You know, in terms of personal motivation, there's lots that can go into it, but you know, it can have a lot of pressure on yourself in terms of runner, and it's definitely no shame to these runners. Putting yourself out there can add a lot of pressure. You might think in terms of speed strats versus tournament strat. But yeah, definitely make sure you give the runners a lot of love. If you enjoy what they put on, interested in learning more, by all means give them a follow as you like. My game, the jump there. It's a little bit tricky. A lot of people tend to say that Oracle of Ages is more of a what's it, puzzle and glitch type of run, whereas Season's more movement and combat based. So if you like platforming, there is tons of platforming in this run. And yeah, picking up this post, the Seasoner pot, very, very nice. did not get to mention it earlier, but Mighty fighting Post Sister number 2. Unlike her sister who attacks with sword, she uses lantern. We do need to take her out in order to go to the roller room to the left. Otherwise the torches will go out and there is no way to make it in time. So it is required to take her out, but the other sister we were able to spare. And then of course the dungeon boss is fighting them together. The mid-boss rather. Here we have Gleok, another Zelda 1 boss, and Sagaz just hammering away at the boss here, down to 1 health, but calculated, not a worry. Doing it for the fans, keeping the suspense. And just very skillfully takes out Dungeon 7. Just real briefly, in case people didn't know, this game originally started off as a remake for the original Zelda. So there's, just a very big homage to the original game. Hence why you see some of the same bosses. Chronologically, these are the 7th Zeldas to come out. So even in Oracle of Ages, you'll see a reference to Majora's Mask. Just really a nice big love letter to the series overall. They're also, I would say, in general, a lot more difficult than other Zeldas. As a kid, these were in my top 3 for favorite Zeldas. I really appreciate that there is a strong puzzle and difficulty element, but there's a lot of malleability in terms of getting a potion, in terms of getting your rings to compensate for your strengths or weaknesses. But yeah, Sagaz, finishing dungeon here, heading towards dungeon 8. Also, more good music here. Going to do a very tricky jump. He got the Rock's Cape, which unfortunately I couldn't really mention at the time. The Rock's Feather, the game understands that you'll jump 1 tile with the feather. The Seeds, you'll jump 2 with the feather. The Cape on its own allows you to jump 3. And I think with the Seeds and the Cape, the game expects that you can jump about 5. With good movement, you can basically add a +1 to all of those. The Cape a little bit more so though, because you can use it to jump, but then you can delay the activation of the Cape itself. And the Cape itself kind of gives you like a little bit of a boost, and you can maneuver through the air. So that jump that Sagaz did, very tricky. The game does not expect you to do that. Don't worry if you're looking at the game, it might seem intimidating. It's not too bad, but it's definitely tricky. It definitely requires some knowledge of movement. Punishment for failing it isn't too big either. So if you're looking at something like that, again, I wouldn't worry too much. Not too bad, but yeah, just strong movement and speed. Able to do a lot of these fun little jumps. And of course, recalling our question, is Link really the hero? He kind of sets fire to the land. He ditched the girl after going out with her. I don't know. Some questionable actions here, but it's all for the greater good. Oh, that's a very nice jump. Again, those are very tricky jumps. I have Gleok for Mighty. Yeah, if Gleok ends up hitting the ground and you don't jump, you will get stun locked. But not a problem for Mighty. He gets the Seeds of Life, the Dungeon, 7 Essence, and Sagaz here entering Sword and Shield Maze. Sword and Shield Maze has the hardest trick in the game, known as HSS Skip, or Hyper Slingshot Skip. The dungeon item of this dungeon is the Hyper Slingshot. It's basically a slingshot that will fire in 3 directions. In this case, you're expected to go through about 4 minutes of the dungeon in order to get to the part where Sagaz is going to attempt to get to you here very shortly. It's the hardest trick in the game because it is a sub-pixel dependent double frame perfect trick. And it does save 4 minutes. So what you'll see Sagaz do here is he'll go forward and prepare the room by taking out one of the Zolls. That one. Then he'll fall in the hole and this will reset his sub-pixel count. He'll hold up and left, wait until he stops moving on the next screen, and he will get a pixel perfect position here. I guess you could say it's triple, it's double frame perfect, but that is a pixel perfect position. He's now doing menu buffers here, and menu buffering in this game is actually really hard. It's, I don't know the full mechanic myself, but apparently it is variable. It's not static. So the frames that you'll advance might shift around a bit. Again, someone would know a lot better than I in that regard to the specifics, but the tool I didn't read is buffers are stuck. And yeah, you can see Sagaz having some trouble here. The time in which you have to jump off the platform and the time in which you activate your cape is both frame perfect. Ah, very nice. I don't do the buffered method myself, so I wasn't actually sure if he got the pixel, but that was very good. So it took an extra attempt or so. He did have to reset his sub-pixel frame. And yeah, definitely show your love to Mighty. Again, it's really, really easy to get down on yourself. It takes a lot of courage to, present and, participate. Yeah, very nice from Sagaz there. That was really the greatest equalizer here. So Sagaz did take a little bit longer. As well, you used up bombs and health and the seeds. It didn't take him too long, so his counts are still healthy. But that was the big opportunity for Mighty to come back into this. There is still more run to be had, but that's basically the big question mark of the run. And so yeah, by going across that gap there, saved about 4 minutes, cut ahead very far into the dungeon. And the dungeon itself is actually somewhat linear, but we get into this portion that is a little bit more open. It's still somewhat straightforward, not too tricky, but basically grabbing these crystals, presumably made of ice, and throwing them down the hole in order to freeze the room below, which will allow us to traverse and get to our 8th dungeon boss, Medusa. It's kind of interesting. Medusa is actually, I'd say, one of the easier bosses compared to the others. The mini boss of this dungeon that we completely skip, Polar, is like the hardest boss in the game, or one of the hardest bosses. Say casually, it would probably be the hardest. In a speedrun sense, not so much, but it's still certainly tricky, especially if you're unfamiliar. And it should be noted that if you are into randomizers, there is a randomizer for this game. Still being worked on, but there are frequent races for it. So if you like the game, either casually in speedrun sense or have an interest in rando, definitely check it out. I'm sure the community would love to welcome more people. Very strong love for the game. Currently, Sagaz is in front. Mighty is about to do the HSS skip. And to reiterate, is a sub-pixel dependent, pixel perfect, double frame perfect trick. So right here, we'll take out this green enemy called Zoll. He will fall into the hole. He will hold up left, wait until his movement stops. This set up his sub-pixels. And now he is getting into a pixel perfect position. And he's found his position. We'll activate a seed, pull out a bomb, and run forward. There's a couple of different steps that you can use. And now he's attempting to pause buffer in order to find the pixel window. Unfortunately, it's a little bit late. One visual cue is that if you see Link's foot, you'll notice that Link's foot, I think it's like about 4 pixels or something. You'll see it kind of over the gap, and it looks like he was 1 pixel too late there. Again, if this kind of thing is intimidating, this is the hardest trick in the run. it does say 4 minutes, but in terms of speedruns, you know, obviously if you play a game, it's a love for the game. You can get a heart ring, you can do a lot of different stuff that makes it easier. But if you do see something like this, don't let it intimidate you. When I started, I did not do the HSS skip. The more I get used to something, the easier it gets. But yeah, this is like the great equalizer in terms of the tournament here. And while I was going through that, Sagaz took out Medusa. Not too much to Medusa, honestly. You just kind of swingy your sword to take her out. Those blue orbs will get Link stoned, and he won't be able to move or anything. But if you have your sword out, the active frames of your sword are continually active. So if you release a charge spin and get stoned, then you're constantly doing charge spin damage to Medusa. So there could be, you know, potential strategy there in order to, you know, let yourself get attacked by Medusa in order to, in the end, do more damage. But yeah, great stuff to Mighty here. He got through. Again, very, very tricky trick. And couldn't really mention it before, but if you take out the flute here, you're able to take out these bunny rabbits, which is their official name. mghtymth. Which I'm sure you guys recognize from Zelda 1 if you're familiar. But yeah, so... Oh yeah, and the boomerang. I kind of mentioned functioning powder, but you can attack that and get a fairy. Oh no, I like bunny rabbit. I like whisker hoppers. Hot buns. Those hot buns. No, but anyway. So, Hollow Light essences, which help the Maku tree. Not to the Deku tree, but to help the Maku tree. It's kind of a little bit sleepy in the beginning, but he's all awake. It's all like, yo, bruh, I'm ready. Take the seed and open the Found Dungeon. So we get this, and we're able to dispel the presumably evil but awesomely purple magic to get into the Found Dungeon where Onox, our final boss, remains. And hey, it's that person again. What? Surprise, or Tonrova. So I mentioned it earlier, if you link the games, you can actually get additional content, and the adventure of the game will change a little bit. So if you do finish this game, it's actually only one half, then you can play Ages, a completely different game. But then you link your game, and you'll actually get differences in those games, as well as additional items. You cannot get the Master Sword normally in this game. If you link, you can. So again, like, just so much replayability, so much to the game. Speedrun doesn't showcase very much. Wow, okay, sorry. Mighty took a death, which is huge, and then Sagaz got grabbed. Not as huge, but wow, that's, again, it's gonna be very demoralizing. Definitely show my your love. I don't know if he hit the switch, but he might have to do HSS again. That is a very, very not good death to take. These tournaments are a lot of pressure, but remember, we're here to celebrate things, and, you know, runners have good days and bad days. It's definitely not a discredit to him at all. Very strong runner, you know, he's appeared at GDQ. I also recommend you go check out that race. Very entertaining. And he did hit switch, okay. So that's good. He doesn't have to do HSS again, but obviously it's still a substantial time loss here. And yeah, Sagaz, meanwhile, he was going through the area there, had the refight with Facade. The cutscene is very activated, so you have to fight with Facade normally. The RNG can be rather trolly. So again, pardon me, I wasn't able to pay full attention there. But got through okay. If you run out of bombs, it can be a bad time. Sagaz did pick up extra bombs, so if something did go wrong, he would have those. And in terms of a tournament race, He's not on PD pace to my understanding whatsoever, especially because I'm looking at his time and it's like absolutely not at all his PD time. So a little redundant for me to say that, but you guys know. Point is, he is taking his safety, knowing he had time to spare. And he's trying to do a bit of stunlock on Dragon Onyx here, and that will be time for Sagaz. So Sagaz has finished in first place with a time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 12 seconds. So good games to him. I can see if I can have him in here for an interview. But yeah, just very well run. A couple of hiccups here and there. But still a very respectable time. World record is the 139. So, you know, approximately less than 5 minutes. That was, you know, with, again, HSS and other stuff. And yeah, the invincibility frames of the enemies are, like, your invuln frames are a lot lower. If you come from other Zeldas, you might expect that you have a lot more, but in this, you can just get beat up so very quickly.
Hey, hi.
Hello. GG's and congratulations on your race.
Yes, thank you. I'm pretty sick, so yeah.
I mean, it's a good run, but you don't have to pump yourself up too much. I already did that during the commentary. Oh, you're ill. Pardon me. No, that was a good run, and yeah, don't worry whatsoever. Thank you so much for playing, and you know, in spite of not feeling well, putting forth your efforts. I'm sure, you know, there's a little annoyances like maybe the HSS or whichever, but you know, still a very good time. The floor master there, a little unfortunate. But yeah, what are your thoughts here?
So hide and seek. 45 seconds lost. Sorry. That was my fault. Because I wanted to have hearts and I dig on a place that you should not dig.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that because, you know, obviously there's a little bit of risk to digging and whatnot, and you know, it's like, are you like, you know, spiking off here, having some fun, and then you get caught? And
yeah.
So it wasn't entirely sure on the motivation, but it looked like just, I don't know, distracted or something. But it's really easy to do because you just take it for granted.
I think I was distracted. Yes, that's possible. Yeah. And actually, you didn't. I don't know if you see, but on the cutscene pirates.
Yeah.
I needed to go to the toilet. And I lost, I think, 25 seconds, something like that.
It's kind
by waiting.
It's kind of funny because if you watch the VOD, I may have made some commentary regarding that part, but you heard it here, folks. Official from the man himself, first place winner, taking some routing, some mid-race rerouting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw your timer going, but unfortunately, you have to match through the scene, right? Like, it would be nice if it was more automatic. But yeah, no, a little chunks of time lost. But aside from that, just a really good run. A couple of close calls, but just being very brave, like not really relenting, not compromising. Had the potion for a long time, so you know, in I think it was like Dungeon 4, you didn't have to worry too much in regards to health. But then later, the potion did end up getting used, and it was like, hey, Dungeon 6, gonna pop the Pegasus seat here, and then jump the platform to light the 5 torches. And you know, it's not the most difficult thing, but it can definitely be easy to mess up or to overcompensate if you think you mess up. And then, yeah, just I think like the half a heart and or 3/4 or something.
To be honest, I don't know why it messed up. I got an instant fail. That's instant fall, not fail. And I didn't understand, and I tried to jump. I don't know what happened, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
so
the platforms. I think in the Dungeon 5 there, just it's really weird too because you look like you're on the platform and you just like you get sucked right through it. It's I'm pretty sure I'm standing on it, at least visually, but just the nature of the moving platform it can be deceptive.
But yeah, that was my Dungeon 6 was not that good, but yeah, that was not huge time loss. I lost 30 seconds. That's still okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when you look at your time, obviously it's a good finish time, but then when you take out the hard chunks of time loss, like it would, obviously bump the time up quite a bit, like, the washroom break and the cutscene.
Yeah.
It's like if you factor that in, that was a very solid run. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I think it should have been a 140, low 143, maybe 142.
Yeah, hard to say exactly, but just still, like I could see it like being in 140 or two about. Mighty finishing up here had a little bit of difficulty. Did some stuff really well, but I think just
Yeah,
things.
I forgot that I got caught by hands. That was very unfortunate. I got a knockback from the Amos guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Very
like I think you're here to like obviously mistakes are mistakes, but some of those seem a little bit more like aberrant. It's kind of like, oh, like that shouldn't normally happen type of deal. If you factor this out, like we're looking at like 142, no problem. But you already have a very solid time, so just simply doing another run, get a strong time. In terms of the play, like it's just big chunks like that, right? Just some big chunks like that. Not as much the little things. The little things were fairly clean. But yeah, it was definitely fun to see just the cutscene a little bit, but then just the pirate. It's like, see the time we're going, but yeah, no, a really good run. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was more noteworthy.
Yeah, thank you. My next race should be against Kudo, if I'm correct.
I have the bracket up here.
Because Fino.
Yes.
Fino couldn't do his tournament run because of IRL.
Yeah, unfortunately, the worst RNG IRL. But good gains to mghtymth here. It's just now finished in second place at the time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 59 seconds. Not sure if we'll have him in here for an interview, but we'll certainly inquire. So give me your GGs and love. Very, very good show by both of you here. Oh, just in the waiting room here. Welcome, Mr. mghtymth, second place winner. GG's. How are you doing?
That was funny.
Yeah, it happens, but still really appreciate it, and that's tournament for you, right? But still a great watch, and a lot of very skillful executions on your part. But I'll let you discuss things here.
Oof.
Oh, hi, Mighty. And GG.
Hi, Sagaz. Congrats on your win.
Thank you.
Yeah, third try post skip is not fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I figured it out. I wasn't holding like up right while I was jumping.
Yeah, it kind of looked like on one of the jumps that the angle wasn't cut as sharply, so it might have just been like something in conjunction with the inputs in the jump. But like it was definitely really close in those moments. And
oh, and the 7th try button
Oh, I think I got pretty much the
Oh
same.
yeah! You both had terrible buttons, which is really
Yeah.
funny and really terrible.
I've never had buttons that bad before, ever.
I have a video with 18 try button,
Oh,
That's crazy.
and
Right.
that was on the any percent showcase race.
oh.
That's so funny. But yeah, you both had terrible RNG. Like, you're just discussing and it's like, okay, 1 or 2 or whichever. And this is, yeah, like you both, I would say probably about 7. I didn't unfortunately get to count here, but it was, it's the kind of thing where in a race, you want the RNG to be identical, synonymous between both runners, like, just have the homogeneity so that you're not really skewing the result in terms of the RNG time, to keep things fair. But then in terms of the run, it's the gods having your advantage. It's kind of like, oh, like maybe Mighty will make out some timer. It's like, nope, they both had very terrible RNG, which was great for it being similar, but yeah.
I don't remember, but that was funny, I guess. Oh yeah, and I might you don't know, but I fell once, hide and seek.
Oh no. I died in Dungeon 8.
Oh
Yeah.
That was funny. I almost died again. By the same guys. It was great.
Yeah, that's the involved frames are so short. It catches me off guard. It takes so much to get used to, and then just the enemies in the game, they're out for blood a lot. But
Doesn't help when you
it's-
forget to take off the power ring from Dungeon 7.
oh, is that what happened?
Actually,
Oh,
I
no.
do that. I don't turn off the power ring after D7 because
Oh wow.
I turn off when I'm doing HSS kill because on the room that varies those magnet guy, you can one-shot them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's definitely
didn't run
handy.
that. I didn't know that, so I was going the slow way and trying to spin slash them.
Spin slash is like super slow, and I use a seed before to like kill them very quickly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I do like that about the powering route, where you can leave the ring on to try and get that boon, but then you do in fact run into the risks. So there is a large reward for skill, but then given the game and its chaotic nature, it can be a little bit more hit or miss too. But yeah, just in terms of like the time between you two, it was really just a lot of those chunkier type things, right? Like maybe HSS or maybe like a cutscene or something. A lot of stuff that would be really easy to have go right on the next run. But in terms of a lot of the little stuff, it was just very good on both of you. Had a lot of close moments with you too. Like Mighty, you were really not that far behind Sagaz, particularly around the Sabroja Brothers section, but he just ended up staying the course a little bit stronger and pulling ahead. And then of course, like the post skip,
Yeah.
and then you two, I think, were very similar in terms of how long HSS took. And then of course, the unfortunate death. But I mean, again, kind of like aberrant things that's like, oh well, you could do like 10 runs and then you never get such a thing or even more. And then just for whatever reason, it's like, oh, let's just have a cutscene problem. Oh, let's have let's leave the powering on or whatever, right? Just
Right.
the little things. But a lot of the micro moments were just very solid, very consistent. Some different stress between you two, but it was really fun to watch.
It was a fun race. I had a lot of laughter at the end because I was like, it's over anyway. Might as well laugh at all my mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I kind of mentioned in the commentary, and I don't want to go too into it, but the tournaments to me are really about celebrating. So in the moment, you care and you want to do good, and it can be really frustrating, and then you're under the microscope because you have a lot of people watching you. But it's really to celebrate the game, to have fun, to race the friend, and things happen. It's a very chaotic atmosphere. The format, you lose, you're done, right? There's no rematch. Get bad RNG, get bad, whichever. A lot of little things can add up, but personally, I really appreciate, and I'm sure the viewers do appreciate too, just the fact that you have such a positive attitude. It can be so disheartening, so just demoralizing. You just don't feel very good, and then of course you might be like, well, I don't normally have this trouble. It's not a fair representation of how far I can push and go. But no, just thank you so much for not only continuing it out, so there'll be more time to like chat and watch and thank you for joining the tournament and for all your contributions too. It's very much a lot of respect towards that.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank
And
you.
yeah, all of you saying remember me the race I did against Dragon. I really not wanted to run the game anymore after that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it can get really heavy. You put so much of your heart into something, and then when you don't get to reflect that hurt, it can be a bit of a blow. But just really happy that you guys keep at it and putting into it, and it is all for fun. So yeah, no, thank you guys. It's a lot of fun to commentate. Jumped in a little bit late, had a couple bit of hiccups here, but if you guys do watch the VOD, I hope you enjoy it. And unfortunately, Mighty, that is the end of the road for you. Still made it very far, very respectable placing. Definitely nothing to be ashamed of here. The brackets were, fairly disjointed at times, or he had like really strong opponents, or people are just like hammering down, and then so just
yeah,
very interesting bracket. And you certainly had a very worthy opponent, and Mr. getting number 2 in the leaderboard here, and just going very strong with the game. So certainly no shame at all. Like it would have been there's a lot of potential for just being very close in general, right? So regardless, just a very good showing. Unfortunately, out of the tournament, Sagaz will move on versus Kido. But I'll just leave the floor to you guys for now, if there's anything else you want to mention.
Good luck, Mighty, for learning Link's Awakening.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna start running that. Good luck on your race. Also, you are all wonderful, and thank you for watching.
Oh, thank you for playing, and let's watch you.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, so we'll just wrap it up here. Definitely give the runners a follow if you're so inclined. I love the game, put in a lot of work. Their efforts precede them. Thank you to Speed Gaming, everyone that put forth their effort to get things set up, be it volunteers and the like. A lot goes into getting everything running. And yeah, if you liked my commentary, don't be shy to follow me. I don't really like to self-plug too much, but that was a lot of fun. I love doing commentaries. I want to do more in general for the future for different games. And thank you everyone. It was a ton of fun, and see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.